Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. I hope you all have a happy and safe Thanksgiving weekend. Thank you for tuning in to NoDQ&A video. This will be a special extended edition since this is the only edition of NoDQ&A video I'm doing this week due to the holiday and other things going on. So let's get right down to your questions today. First one comes from Robert Hansen. Hey Aaron, how come the WWE Network can mention TNA but they can't on live TV? I've also gotten a few questions about Daniel Bryan. For those of you that missed it on Talking Smack last week, Daniel Bryan referenced TNA when he was arguing with Mick Foley. Now, here's the thing. People have asked me, is Daniel Bryan in trouble with WWE? Did he say something he wasn't supposed to say? Here is the situation. WWE does not want to mention TNA on Raw or SmackDown. Raw and SmackDown are shows that are geared towards casual fans. Talking Smack is a show that's exclusive to the network, and it's a show that the more hardcore fans are watching. WWE wants to cater to the hardcore fans that tune in to Talking Smack. So that's why you get the TNA reference on Talking Smack. And no, Bryan did not go into business for himself. He's a professional. Daniel Bryan is one of the most professional guys in the business. He would not do something like that. He would not say TNA unless it was part of the script, and that's what it was. It was WWE getting a pop from the hardcore fans that are tuning in to Talking Smack. But that's the reason why TNA references are made on a show like Talking Smack or the Edge and Christian show and not Raw or SmackDown, because there's different audiences. When you have a more casual audience, WWE isn't going to mention TNA. This one comes from Dwayne Russell. Should Vince Russo be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame? A very polarizing figure is Vince Russo. A lot of people will debate about it. I would say yes. I think Vince Russo did contribute to the Attitude Era. He obviously was not the deciding factor in WWE overtaking WCW. There were a lot of factors. You had Vince, first and foremost, Vince McMahon I'm talking about, as well as Steve Austin, The Rock, DX, all these guys, everyone working together as a team helped the WWF, the production people, everyone involved. Everyone got together and worked really hard and put together solid programming week after week after week until finally the WWF was able to catch up to WCW. So Russo did present some innovative ideas to the table, and there's no doubt Vince Russo did contribute. So I would induct Vince Russo for his contributions to the Attitude Era. Now, a lot of people say without WWE, Vince Russo was a complete failure. He did not do well in WCW. He did not do that well in TNA. The thing about WCW is I think that Vince Russo needed a filter. He needed somebody to overlook what Russo was doing and shoot down some of the bad ideas. And I also feel that Russo was handcuffed to a degree in WCW by standards and practices. So I can understand Russo's frustrations, but I also understand his critics and why they felt he was very bad for the business in the long haul. But yeah, I would induct Vince Russo. If I had to make a decision on that, if push came to shove, I would induct Vince Russo into the WWE Hall of Fame. This one comes from Iper. Do you see WWE putting the Cruiserweights as the 7-man ladder match at WrestleMania, or will they go back to classic Money in the Bank? I would actually like to see that. I wasn't a big fan of the IC title match either year at WrestleMania, 31 or 32, being in a multi-man match. I think it devalues the title to just have it be in a multi-person ladder match where it's just thrown together. At least with the Cruiserweights, I mean, they would have the ability to shine in those kind of matches where they can do all their high spots and it can be the big stunt show. It would be fitting for the Cruiserweights to be able to do a ladder match for the Cruiserweight title. So I would rather see that and then have the IC title and the US title in higher profile matches. Although the US title has been in high profile matches, it's the IC title that has just been thrown together into these multi-man matches over the past few years. So yeah, I would like to see that. I think a Cruiserweight, 7-man Cruiserweight ladder match at this coming WrestleMania would be a good idea. I think that that would be a solid way to utilize the Cruiserweights and let them do their thing. They could really shine in a ladder match. This one comes from Broken Ty Marshall. What are your thoughts when Vader said he's got 2 years to live? I think it sucks. Yeah, it's awful. I feel really bad for Vader. I think that Vader should go into the Hall of Fame immediately. I mean, he should have been in a while ago, and I think the process will be sped up now because of the news. It's just terrible. It sucks, and I hope that Vader does get to go into the WWE Hall of Fame and enjoy the moment while he's still alive. I hope maybe somehow he can get healthy. I'm not sure if losing weight's an option. I don't really know the details on his health, but it's not good. It's obviously very grim when you're told you only have 2 years left to live. So whatever the next 2 years are for Vader, I hope he has peace, and I hope he's able to get that Hall of Fame moment and be able to live to go into the Hall of Fame and get that recognition, because he absolutely deserves it. I mean, definitely one of the better big men in wrestling history, and he had quite the run in WCW, and even in WWE he had a very solid run. And of course all the stuff he did in Japan and in the Indies over the years. Alright, this next one comes from Mr. Yuck. ROH and others have 3-man tag team belts. Will WWE follow suit? There are many 3-man factions in WWE. I've been saying this for the longest time. I would love to see WWE introduce a trios title. It's something we haven't seen before in WWE, and there are a lot of 3-person factions like the New Day, the Wyatt family, the Shield when they were a group. There's a lot of them, and I would rather see something like that than bringing back the European title or even the hardcore title. You know, I get these questions all the time. Is WWE going to bring back the European title? Why? Why bring back the European title? The belt never really meant that much in the first place, and the US title and the IC title already served that purpose of being the singles mid-card title. Even the TV title, I mean, I like the idea of the TV title where it's defended every single week on television, but I'd like to see something new, like if not a TV title, you know, like an internet title or a pay-per-view title or just something different. But I think of all the ideas, the trios title is the best way to go. I would love to see it happen. So I think if WWE does introduce a new championship, that should be the one. This one comes from Sean T. Flick. As previous tag team champions, what do you think of Rollins and Reigns being the ones to end the New Day's title run? I don't really think it's necessary. I'd rather see a younger team like the Revival come in and beat the New Day for the tag team titles. Rollins and Reigns are going to be in the main event storylines for the foreseeable future. So why have them win the tag team titles unless they're actually going to feud with each other, and then you could do that storyline where the guys feuding are the tag team champions. But to me, it's just not necessary. I'd much rather see a younger team like the Revival come in and get the rub by beating the New Day, the team that beat Demolition's record or is about to beat Demolition's record, and really get them off to a great start in WWE on the main roster. That's what I would like to see. I think that's way more productive. Got this one here from Daniel Lynch. Hey Aaron, should we consider Yokozuna a great? I would say he was definitely, like Vader, one of the better big men of his era. I mean, he was a very dominant world champion in 93 and 94. Unfortunately, he had the weight issues and that got the best of him, and he was unable to lose the weight, and WWE cut him. and he ended up passing away at a very young age, which was unfortunate. I think that if he had lost some weight and had lived longer, Yoko could have been one of the greats in WWE. I mean, despite his size, he could perform and he could play the big man role really well. So I thought he was a very solid performer overall in WWE, and him and Brett had some good matches, and Yoko and Ono... Wow, I just said Yoko and Ono, wow. I meant Yoko and Owen Hart was what I was trying to say. That's a botch for the ages. I'll just leave that in. Sometimes I edit out my botches, but that one was too funny. I thought Yokozuna and Owen Hart had an entertaining tag team as well in '95. So, yeah, I felt Yokozuna had a good career in WWE. Could have been longer, but sometimes things are just not meant to be. This one comes from Austin West. Do you consider the Randy Orton-Undertaker feud from 2005 underrated? Went on for 9 months and culminated in Hell in a Cell. Your thoughts? That's a great feud. So if people don't remember it, then they should. I've talked about this many times. I was at WrestleMania 21, and I loved that Randy Orton-Undertaker match. Definitely one of the most underrated Undertaker WrestleMania matches. I thought it was better than Undertaker and Batista. I thought it was better than Undertaker versus Edge, which I know a lot of people would disagree on, but I was really convinced watching that match that Orton was going to beat The Undertaker. And I was not really convinced for most of The Undertaker's matches after that. I felt that near fall finish with Bob Orton coming in and hitting Undertaker with a cast, I thought that was going to be the end of the match. So I was really buying into the idea that Orton could beat The Undertaker. I thought that was a great WrestleMania match, great Undertaker match for WrestleMania. And yeah, they had a very long extended feud which ended with Hell in a Cell, as it should, rather than you have a mandatory Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where you have to do the Hell in a Cell matches. Here, you were actually settling a feud. These guys had been going back and forth for several months, trading wins, and then you had this Hell in a Cell match to end things once and for all and settle the rivalry, which is how I feel it should be. So yeah, that feud was done really well. This one comes from Tarab Larby. Hey Aaron, why WWE no longer writing the number of the WrestleMania below the logo? For a stupid reason, WWE, and I think this is Vince McMahon, he doesn't want WWE WrestleMania, the brand, to be seen as something old, which is really silly because I think it makes WrestleMania seem important when you know it's been going on for a long time. When there's been 32 WrestleManias, this is an event that has been very successful to be going on for this long. And it makes WrestleMania seem all that more important. But Vince's idea is that he doesn't want WrestleMania to feel like it's old. For a while they were banning the phrase, and they still might have it banned, the granddaddy of them all, which Jim Ross used to say back during the Attitude Era. And then it got dropped because Vince did not want WrestleMania being seen as old. I think it's really stupid personally, but Vince is the genius who's very wealthy and running a very successful company, so what do I know? This one comes from Richard Henderson. On the women's roster, what superstars do you see that are already future Hall of Famers? I think you meant famers. I mean, if there was going to be a Hall of Famer, I think one of the women would have to adapt a Hillbilly Jim gimmick. But seriously, as far as women right now in WWE that will be future Hall of Famers, I mean, I think Charlotte, definitely, because she's Ric Flair's daughter. And not just that, I mean, to Charlotte's credit, she's doing a hell of a job in her role. And she's really stood out as one of the best women performers of the past decade. She would be going in, probably Sasha Banks, maybe Bayley, depending on how well she does in WWE. I think that even though she just left, I could see AJ Lee eventually going into the Hall of Fame. Those would be the main ones right now, but there's still plenty of time. Oh, how could I forget the Bella Twins? You know they're going in. Whether you like them or not, you know they're going in, not just because of Nikki's title reign, but also the Total Divas, Total Bellas. You know, they've been stars beyond just the in-ring aspect of WWE. They're superstars, larger than life, so you know they'll go in as well. For political reasons, whatever, but you know, I would say they deserve it. They've really accomplished a lot in WWE, and they've been helping out with the female audience, drawing in more female fans. So you know, they are drawing to a degree. So I would make the argument for them going in, despite people feeling controversial about them. This one comes from Ali. Who, in your opinion, has suffered the most from backstage politics in his or her career? I would have to say Chris Jericho in WCW, and guys like Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. These guys were WCW's future. They could have been the guys to carry WCW into the new millennium, and perhaps if they were, WCW would still exist today and things would be very different. But there was a glass ceiling. Guys like Jericho and Benoit and Guerrero, they had all the talent in the world, but they were not being pushed. They were stuck in the mid-card hell, while the guys like Hogan and Piper and Savage and Kevin Nash, these guys had the top spots and were not letting go. They had their guaranteed contracts. They had, in Hogan's case, the creative control. And WCW was unable to create new stars. And what did Jericho and all them do? When they got the opportunity, they left, went to WWE, and became major stars and made WWE tons of money. So those are the guys I think were the biggest victims of backstage politics. If you had to choose a last match, would it be Taker beating Cena or a heel Reigns beating Taker for a major heel push? I think I would have to go with Reigns beating Taker and getting the heel push. I think ideally I would like to see a younger star and a guy who's going to be the future of the company beating The Undertaker and getting the rub from beating Undertaker. If Cena beats Undertaker, I mean, Cena's not really the future. He is the biggest star in the company still, but I would rather WWE book towards the future and have somebody get this huge rub from defeating The Undertaker and retiring The Undertaker. That is something a new rising star could brag about for their entire career. You know, kind of like Chris Jericho beating Austin and The Rock on the same night. That is something he's always bragged about. Beating The Undertaker, that can make somebody's career. So I would go with Reigns. If not Reigns, somebody else beating Undertaker and becoming the top heel in WWE. This one comes from Michael. Question, NWA in the early 80s or WCW in the 90s? What are your pros and cons? Please answer in video. First time questioner. Well, the NWA in the early 80s was very violent. If you watch that first Starrcade, the first two Starrcades, you know, almost every match had some kind of blood or some kind of excessive violence. So you definitely had a very physical product that was more reality based, and 90s WCW became very cartoonish like the WWF. You started having Sting and RoboCop, and then the whole thing with the White Castle of Fear and the Dungeon of Doom and all this over-the-top stuff. So if you're a fan of more realistic wrestling with lots of violence and characters that are not too over-the-top, then you would definitely go with the NWA in the 80s. But if you're a fan of sports entertainment and you like the theatrics and the larger-than-life characters, you would go with the WCW in the 90s. Although WCW in the 90s also had some solid wrestling. But, I mean, I really don't have a preference. I think I would go more with the 90s WCW just because that's what I grew up with. But some of those NWA shows were really solid, and you had a lot of intense matches. I mean, you think back to like Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA, and some of those fights were just very violent, very physical, and you really believed that these guys hated each other's guts. And to me, that's some of the best storytelling you can do. This one comes from Adam Pizzo. Do you think Karma is ever going to come back? And if she does, who would you have her face? Nia Jax? I don't think she's coming back. I think if she was going to come back, she would have by now. I think WWE is perfectly happy focusing on the talent they have, not just on the main roster, but in NXT and developing new stars. I think it's very unlikely they bring her back. Just looking back at history, a lot of women come in, they get their one shot, and that's it. And I just don't see it happening. And if she did come back for whatever reason, I mean, yeah, you could put her with somebody like Nia Jax, but one would think it would be a better dynamic to try and recreate Awesome Kong versus Gail Kim from TNA. You could see WWE trying to recreate something like that, you know, the big woman, you know, David versus Goliath type of thing. I think that would be more effective. But yeah, you could do Karma versus Nia Jax, you know, the two big bulls butting heads. But I don't think it's going to happen. Alright, that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thank you all very much for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest fallout from Survivor Series, as well as the latest regarding the upcoming TLC and Roadblock pay-per-views in December. Hard to believe 2016 is almost over. We are now getting into the Christmas season. NoDQ.com will have you updated on all the latest, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will see you guys this weekend for more NoDQ&A video.